This content is provided for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute professional real estate, legal, financial, or investment advice. I am not a licensed real estate agent, broker, attorney, or financial advisor in the United States. The information shared in this video is based on personal research, experience, and publicly available resources. Real estate laws, marketing regulations, and licensing requirements vary by state and country. You should always consult with a licensed real estate professional or legal advisor before implementing any strategies discussed in this video. I make no guarantees regarding results, income, or lead generation performance. Your success depends on many factors including market conditions, effort, and experience. By watching this video, you agree that you are solely responsible for any decisions or actions you take based on this content. Let me tell you about an agent I know named Mark. 6 months ago, Mark was on the verge of quitting real estate. He was doing everything right: the open houses, the social media posts, the local networking, but his listings were just sitting there. He'd get a brand new, beautiful 3-bedroom colonial in a great school district, put up gorgeous, professional photos, and then crickets. 45, 60, 70 days on market. His commission checks were shrinking, and his stress was skyrocketing. He felt like he was screaming into a void, trying to sell a 3-dimensional experience using flat, lifeless, 2-dimensional pictures. He was trying to sell a home, but all he had were photographs of a house. And there is a massive difference. Today, Mark is the top producing agent in his office. His listings are going under contract in less than 14 days. He's getting calls from sellers he's never met, asking him, begging him to list their properties. He hasn't spent a single extra dollar on advertising. He didn't hire a new marketing guru. He changed one thing. Just one. He stopped selling pictures and he started selling walkthroughs. He stopped being a real estate agent and became a real estate experience provider. He learned how to create a photorealistic, fully immersive 3D model of every single one of his listings. What if I told you that you could do the exact same thing? What if I told you that the key to doubling your income, cutting your days on market in half, and becoming the go-to agent in your area has nothing to do with your sales skills or your network, but everything to do with the technology that you can learn for free right here in this video series? That's exactly what we're going to do. This isn't just another tech tutorial. This is a complete business transformation plan. Over the next 10 parts, I am going to give you a step-by-step, click-by-click roadmap to mastering the art and science of 3D modeling for your real estate listings. You will learn how to turn any physical property into a stunning interactive virtual open house that buyers can explore 24/7 from anywhere in the world. We're talking a complete digital twin of the home that will make your listings absolutely irresistible on Zillow, on Redfin, and on your own website. This is the skill that separates the 6-figure agents from the 7-figure agents. This is the tool that solves the biggest problems you face every single day. Think about it. That out-of-state buyer who's hesitant to fly in just to see one property? Now they can walk through the entire home, from the master closet to the back patio, right from their laptop in another time zone. That busy family who can only see homes after 7 p.m. on a Tuesday? Now they can do a detailed tour at midnight after the kids are asleep. Those endless, time-wasting questions about room dimensions, ceiling height, or whether their king-size bed will fit. Solved. The model has a built-in measurement tool. You're not just saving them time. You are saving your own. You're filtering out the tire kickers and only spending your precious time with highly qualified, serious buyers who have already fallen in love with the home online. Now I know what you're thinking. I can hear the objections from here. This sounds amazing, but I am not a tech person. I can barely work my email. Perfect. This guide is built for you. If you can use a smartphone, you have all the technical skill you need to get started. I'm going to show you software so intuitive, so user-friendly, you'll be shocked at how simple this is. We're going to break it down into tiny, manageable steps. There will be no confusing jargon, no complicated coding, just a clear, direct path from where you are now to where you want to be. The second objection. This has to be incredibly expensive. I don't have thousands of dollars for fancy cameras and software. That's the best part. The technology has evolved. 10 years ago, yes, this would have cost you a fortune. Today, you can get started with the phone that's already in your pocket. We are going to cover the entire spectrum, from free and low-cost software options that give you incredible results, all the way up to the professional-grade gear for when you're ready to scale. You do not need to break the bank to dominate your market. You just need the right knowledge, and I'm going to give it to you. And the third biggest objection. I just don't have the time. I'm already swamped. Let me ask you this. How much time do you spend driving to a property to let in a buyer for a second look that goes nowhere? How much time do you waste on unqualified leads who just wanted to see the inside of their neighbor's house? This isn't about adding another task to your to-do list. This is about a strategic investment of a few hours that will save you hundreds of hours in the long run. It's about working smarter, not harder. It's about creating a powerful automated asset that sells for you around the clock, so you can focus on what you do best: negotiating deals and closing them. Let's be brutally honest. The real estate market has changed forever. The days of just throwing 25 photos on the mills and hoping for the best are over. Dead. Gone. We live in an on-demand world. Buyers are conditioned by Amazon, Netflix, and Uber to expect instant gratification and total transparency. They don't just want to see pictures of the kitchen. They want to virtually stand in it. They want to open the digital door, walk down the hallway, and feel the flow of the space. Listings with 3D tours aren't just a novelty anymore. They are rapidly becoming the standard. Zillow's own data shows these listings get prioritized in search results, get exponentially more saves, and sell faster for more money. You are at a crossroads right now. You can either be the agent who adopts this technology and provides a superior, premium experience that sellers will gladly pay for, or you can be the agent who gets left behind, wondering why your phone stopped ringing. This is no longer a luxury. This is a necessity for survival and growth in the modern real estate landscape. So here's the game plan for this series. We're going on a journey together. We'll start with the absolute basics, understanding what a 3D model actually is and the psychology behind why it's so powerful for buyers. Then we'll dive into the different types of technology, from simple phone apps to dedicated 360-degree cameras. I'll walk you through the entire capturing process step by step, showing you how to scan a property efficiently to get a flawless, professional-looking model. After that, we'll get into editing and publishing, how to add tags, create highlight reels, and embed your finished tour directly into your listings and marketing materials. We'll cover advanced strategies for using these models on social media to create viral content, and finally, how to leverage this new skill to win more listings and justify your commission against low-fee competitors. By the end of this series, you won't just know how to create a 3D model. You will have a weapon, a tool so powerful it will fundamentally change how you do business. You will be able to walk into any listing presentation with a level of confidence you've never had before, offering a service that 90% of the other agents in your town simply can't match. You will become the obvious choice. The real estate industry is filled with agents who are stuck in the past, doing things the way they've always been done. But the future belongs to those who adapt, who innovate, and who provide overwhelming value. The choice of which group you belong to is being made right now by your decision to learn this skill. This is your chance to get ahead of the curve, not just to catch up to it. So you've made the decision. You're ready to step into the future. But standing at the starting line, you're immediately faced with a wall of logos, a cacophony of software names, each one promising to be the key that unlocks your creative potential. Blender, SketchUp, 3ds Max, Revit, Maya, Cinema 4D, Fusion 360. The list goes on and on. It's overwhelming. It's designed to be. This is the first great filter, the point where most people get paralyzed by choice, throw their hands up and say, "It's too complicated." They click away, they go back to the old way of doing things, and they miss the revolution. You are not going to be one of them, because right now we're going to cut through all of that noise. We're going to simplify this decision down to its absolute core so you can stop researching and start doing. Forget the dozens of options. For our purpose, creating stunning photorealistic 3D models of real estate properties, there are really only two serious contenders you need to consider at the beginning of your journey. And then there's the one I'm going to unequivocally recommend you start with today. The two main players in this space, especially for someone starting out, are SketchUp and Blender. Let's talk about SketchUp first. You've probably heard of it. It's famous for its user-friendliness. Its tagline for years was essentially 3D for everyone. And it lives up to that. You can open SketchUp and within an hour be drawing walls, pushing and pulling them into 3D shapes, and generally feeling like you're making real progress. Feels intuitive, almost like digital Lego. For architects and designers who need to quickly sketch out a massing model or a basic floor plan, it's fantastic. It's the path of least resistance to getting a 3D shape on your screen. But here's the catch. And it's a big one. The ease of entry comes at a cost. Firstly, a literal cost. While there's a free web version, it's severely limited. To get the features you'll actually need for professional work, the ability to use powerful extensions, to render high-quality images, to import and export certain file types, you need SketchUp Pro, which is a subscription. That's hundreds of dollars a year forever. As a beginner, that's a significant barrier. More importantly, though, is the skill ceiling. SketchUp is easy to learn, but it can be difficult to master for the kind of photorealistic results we're after. It's brilliant for straight lines and simple geometry, but when you need to model complex organic shapes, like a uniquely curved sofa, a detailed light fixture, or the subtle imperfections that make a scene look real, SketchUp starts to fight you. You end up relying on a patchwork of third-party plugins and renderers, some of which have their own costs and learning curves. You're essentially bolting an engine onto a bicycle. Can work, but it's not what it was designed for. SketchUp is a fantastic sketchbook, but we're not here to sketch. We're here to create reality. Now let's talk about the other contender. The one that, in my opinion, is the single greatest gift the creative world has ever been given. Let's talk about Blender. Blender is different. It's not just a piece of software. It's a movement. It is completely 100% free. Not free trial free. Not free with limited features free. Free as in, you can download it right now and have access to the exact same tool that professional visual effects artists are using to create scenes for blockbuster movies and Netflix shows. There are no subscriptions, no pro versions, no hidden costs. Ever. From a business perspective, this is a game changer. Your primary tool, the engine of your new service, has a lifetime cost of $0. But what about the learning curve? You've probably heard the whispers. Blender is hard. And for a long time it was. Its interface was notoriously confusing. But that's the old Blender. In the last few years, Blender has undergone a radical transformation. It's been redesigned from the ground up to be more intuitive, more user-friendly, and more powerful than ever before. Is it as simple as SketchUp on day one? No, it won't hold your hand in the same way. But that's because it's not a sketchbook. It's a complete digital art studio. Learning Blender isn't just learning to model a house. It's learning the fundamental principles of 3D creation that apply everywhere. It's like the difference between learning to trace a drawing and learning the fundamentals of anatomy, perspective, and light. One is a shortcut to a specific result. The other is a foundation for a lifetime of skill. With Blender, everything you need is in one box. It has a world-class modeling toolset that can handle anything from a perfect 90-degree wall to the intricate stitching on a leather chair. It has a sculpting mode that's like playing with digital clay. It has two built-in photorealistic rendering engines, Cycles and EV, that are so good you will never need to buy a separate rendering program. One is for creating jaw-droppingly realistic images that are indistinguishable from photographs, and the other is for creating real-time renderings that let you fly through a property as if you were in a video game. And the community, the Blender community, is its superpower. You are not just downloading a program. You're joining a global army of millions of creators, a hive mind of problem solvers who have already encountered and solved every single problem you're about to face. There are more high-quality, free tutorials for Blender on YouTube than for any other 3D software on the planet, by an order of magnitude. Any question you have, any technique you want to learn, has already been answered and explained in a dozen different ways by creators who are passionate about sharing their knowledge. Think of it like this: SketchUp is like a power drill. It's very good at one specific thing, making holes, or in this case, making simple architectural shapes. It's easy to pick up and use immediately. Blender is a full mechanics workshop. It has the power drill, but it also has the lathe, the welder, the airbrush, the diagnostic computer, everything. On your first day in the workshop, it might look intimidating. But once you learn where the tools are, you can build not just a go-kart, but a Formula One race car. For real estate, this is crucial. You don't just want to show a floor plan. You want to sell a feeling. You want to model the way the morning light filters through the sheer curtains in the master bedroom. You want to show the subtle reflection of the under-cabinet lighting on the polished granite countertops. You want to place a plush, inviting armchair in the corner with a soft throw blanket draped over it, making the potential buyer imagine themselves curling up there with a book. That level of detail, that emotional resonance, is where Blender doesn't just shine. It leaves everything else in the dust. So what about the other programs? What about the big Hollywood names like 3ds Max or Maya? Simple. They are massive, incredibly expensive overkill. They are industrial-grade tools for huge teams and complex animation pipelines. Learning them is like learning to fly a 747 just to go to the grocery store. It's the wrong tool for the job, and the cost is astronomical. This is my unwavering recommendation to you. Do not split your focus. Do not download 3 different programs to try them out. That is a recipe for getting nowhere. I want you to make one decision and commit to it. Download Blender. It is the most powerful, most versatile, and most economically sensible choice you can possibly make. The skills you learn in Blender are not just real estate skills. They are fundamental 3D art skills. You could use them to create product visualizations, animated logos, visual effects, anything. You are investing your time in a platform that grows with you, that opens doors you don't even know exist yet. By choosing Blender, you are choosing to build your house on a foundation of solid rock, not shifting sand. The initial effort will be slightly greater, yes. You will have to spend a few days learning the layout of your new workshop, but the payoff is a skill that is future-proof, a tool that will never limit your creativity, and a business with zero software overhead. So that's your next step. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now. Go to blender.org. Click the download button. It's free, it's safe, and it's the first concrete step on this new path. In the next part, we're going to open it up for the very first time, and I'm going to show you how to tame the beast, how to make that seemingly complex interface your new best friend, and how to take your first real steps from beginner to creator. Get it installed because your future starts now. Alright, you've launched the program, and if you're anything like I was, you're looking at a screen that feels less like a piece of software and more like the cockpit of a starship you don't have the license to fly. There are buttons everywhere. Menus within menus. A weird cube just sitting there. It's overwhelming. It's the #1 reason most people close the program and never open it again. They see a wall and they turn back. But you're not going to do that. Because that isn't a wall. It's a door. And I'm about to hand you the key. First, I want you to take a deep breath and ignore 95% of what you see. Seriously. Just let it all fade into the background. You don't need it yet. A pilot doesn't learn to fly by memorizing the function of every single circuit breaker first. They learn the yoke, the throttle, and the rudder. They learn how to see where they're going. That's what we're going to do right now. Your screen is divided into a few key areas. Let's focus on the 4 most important ones. The big, main window where you see the cube, that's your windshield. It's called the 3D viewport. This is where all the magic happens. It's your window into the digital world you're about to build. This is where you'll spend almost all of your time. Now look to the top right. You'll see a little list. It probably says collection, and underneath that, camera, cube, and light. This is your crew manifest. It's called the outliner. Every single object you add to your world, a wall, a window, a sofa, a lamp will appear on this list. It's a simple, clean, organized table of contents for your entire project. If you ever get lost or can't find something, you can always find it here. Below the outliner is a big panel full of little icons and tabs. This is the Properties panel. Think of this as your engineering console. Whatever you have selected in your main view, this is where you control its specific details. Is your wall 10 feet tall or 12? Is it made of brick or plaster? Is your light bright white or warm yellow? All those fine-tuning adjustments happen right here. We'll be spending a lot of time here later, but for now, just know it exists. Finally, at the very bottom, you see that long strip with numbers on it? That's the timeline. It's for animation. And for what we're doing, creating static images and tours of real estate, we will not touch it. Ever. So, in your mind, I want you to just gray it out. It doesn't exist for us. Look at that. We've already simplified the interface by a huge chunk. So we have our windshield, our crew manifest, and our engineering console. That's it. Now let's learn to fly. The single most important skill you will ever learn in 3D is how to move around. It needs to become as natural as breathing. We're going to build that muscle memory right now. You'll need a mouse with a clickable scroll wheel for this. If you don't have one, I'll show you an alternative in a moment, but I promise you, getting one will change your life. First, push down on your scroll wheel, hold it, and move your mouse around. See that? You're orbiting. You're like a satellite flying around that cube, looking at it from any angle. Above, below, from the side. This is the foundation of everything. Let go. Do it again. Get a feel for it. This is how you inspect your work. This is how you'll check if a wall is straight or if a piece of furniture is in the right spot. Okay, next. Hold down the Shift key on your keyboard. And now press and hold the middle mouse wheel again. Move the mouse. You're not orbiting anymore. You're panning. You're sliding your view left and right, up and down. Imagine your head is attached to a camera on a dolly track. This is how you move your entire viewpoint without changing the angle. Orbit to get the right angle, then pan to frame the shot perfectly. Practice that. Shift middle mouse drag. Last one, and it's the easiest. Just roll the scroll wheel forward and backward. You're zooming in and out. Simple as that. That's it. Those are the 3 sacred movements of 3D navigation. Orbit, pan and zoom. Middle mouse, shift plus middle mouse, and scroll wheel. I want you to spend a full 2 minutes right now just doing that. Fly around the cube. Look at it from every conceivable angle. Swoop in close, then pull way back. Pan left, pan right. Make it a dance. This is you learning to walk in this new universe. It feels clumsy at first, but soon you won't even think about it. It will become an extension of your will. For those of you without a 3-button mouse, or if you just prefer it, look in the top right corner of your 3D viewport. You'll see a little multicolored gizmo with X, Y, and Z on it. You can click and drag that to orbit. Just below it are a magnifying glass for zooming and a little hand for panning. They do the exact same things. Use whatever feels best for you. Now that you can move, let's interact with something. See that cube? That's an object. To select it, just left-click on it. You'll see an orange outline appear around it. That's it. You've selected it. To deselect it, just click anywhere else in the empty space. Click on it. Click off it. This is the digital equivalent of picking something up and putting it down. And once you've picked something up, you can do 3 things to it. You can move it, you can rotate it, and you can scale it. This is the holy trinity of 3D manipulation. And the keyboard shortcuts are beautifully simple. G, R, and S. First, select the cube. Now press the G key on your keyboard. G for grab. Don't click anything, just press G and move your mouse. The cube is now glued to your cursor. You can move it anywhere you want. When you have it where you want it, just left-click to confirm, or right-click to cancel and send it back to where it started. Try it. G move click. G move right-click. But moving it around wildly isn't very precise, is it? We're modeling architecture, we need precision. This is where the magic happens. Press G, and before you move the mouse, press the X key. Now move your mouse. The cube is locked to the red line, the X-axis. You can only move back and forth along that line. Left-click to place it. Now try it with Y. Press G, then Y. It's locked to the green Y-axis. And you guessed it, G then Z locks it to the blue vertical Z-axis. This is how you build houses. You don't just throw walls around. You move them precisely along an axis. The exact same logic applies to rotation. Select the cube and press the R key. R for rotate. Move your mouse and it spins around. But press R and then X and it will only rotate along that X-axis. R then Y rotates it along the Y-axis. R then Z makes it spin like a top. This is how you'll angle a roof, or turn a chair to face a fireplace. And finally, scale. Press the S key. S for scale. Move your mouse and the cube gets bigger or smaller. But what if you don't want a bigger cube? What if you want a flat floor or a long thin wall? You use the axis. Press S then X. Now you're only scaling it along the X-axis, making it longer or shorter. S then Z makes it taller or flatter. This is your new toolkit. Navigation, orbit, pan, zoom. Transformation, grab, rotate, scale, lock to the X, Y, and Z axis. With these 6 actions you can create and place almost anything. That cube in front of you? Stop seeing it as a cube. See it as a kitchen island. Press S then X to make it long and rectangular. Press S then Z to make it a little shorter. Now press G then Z to lift it off the ground slightly. You just made a countertop. Or press S then Z to make it very tall. Then S then Y to make it very thin. Now you have a wall. Press G to move it into place. You're not just learning buttons, you are learning to sculpt a world. You have tamed the interface. You have mastered movement. You have learned how to manipulate objects in 3D space with precision. You are no longer just looking at a screen, you are inside a new space, a workspace that you command. The cockpit is no longer intimidating. You're in the pilot seat, your hands are on the controls, and you know exactly how to fly. But right now, all we have is this one single shape. It's a powerful start, but we can't build a house with just one cube. In the next part, we're going to move from being a pilot to being an architect. We're going to learn how to create new shapes from scratch, how to mold them, and how to turn a blank, empty space into the fundamental walls and floors of your very first room. Alright, let's put on our hard hats. Up until now, we've been treating our 3D objects like solid, unchangeable blocks. We could move them, rotate them, and scale them, but we couldn't change their fundamental shape. That's because we were in what's called object mode. Think of object mode as the 10,000-foot view. You're arranging furniture in a room. You can pick up a whole chair and move it, but you can't reach in and make the leg of that chair longer. To do that, you need to switch from being an interior designer to being a carpenter. You need to get your hands on the wood itself. In the world of 3D, that's called edit mode. This is where the magic happens. This is where we stop just moving blocks and start sculpting them. To get there, make sure you have an object selected. Our trusty default cube is perfect for this, and then press the Tab key. Instantly, you'll see a change. The object is now outlined, and you can see its underlying structure. It's like looking at the steel frame of a skyscraper instead of just the glass exterior. This is the raw data, the DNA of your 3D model, and it's made of 3 fundamental components. You need to burn these 3 words into your brain: vertices, edges, and faces. Let's break it down. Look at the corners of your cube. Each individual corner point is a vertex. A vertex is the most basic element in 3D space. It's just a single point, a coordinate. It has a location but no dimension. Now look at the lines connecting those corners. Each one of those lines is an edge. An edge is a straight line that connects 2 vertices. Simple as that. It has length but no width. Finally, look at the flat, square surfaces of the cube. Each one is a face. A face is a flat surface created when you have at least 3 edges that form a closed loop. This is the part that actually gets rendered, the part you can see and apply a texture to like paint or wallpaper. So to recap, dots are vertices, lines connecting the dots are edges, and the filled-in surfaces between the lines are faces. Vertices, edges, faces. That's it. Every single complex 3D model you've ever seen, from a hyper-realistic character in a video game to a stunning architectural rendering, is just a combination of those 3 simple things. Up at the top of your screen you'll see 3 little icons. One for a point, one for a line, and one for a square. These let you switch between selecting vertices, edges, or faces. Try clicking on each one. When you're in vertex select mode, you can click on any corner. In edge select mode, you can click on the lines. And in face select mode, you can click on the big flat surfaces. Now here's the cool part. The tools you already know, grab, rotate, and scale, work here too, but on a much more detailed level. Go into vertex select mode and click on a single vertex at the top of the cube. Now press G for grab and move your mouse. Look at that. You're no longer moving the whole cube. You're stretching and distorting it by pulling a single corner around. The 2 edges and 3 faces connected to that vertex stretch and move with it. This is how you sculpt. Switch to face select mode. Click on the top face of the cube. Now press S to scale. The entire top face gets bigger or smaller, creating a pyramid or a funnel shape. Try pressing R to rotate it. You're twisting the top of the cube while the bottom stays put. You can see the power you have now. You are no longer just a pilot, you are the engineer able to modify the very structure of the craft. Okay, theory lesson over. Let's build something real. We promised to build the walls and floors of our first room. Let's do it right now. Start with a fresh scene and our default cube. We're going to turn this cube into a simple single-room floor plan. Press Tab to go into edit mode. Make sure you're in face select mode. We want to create an open box like a room without a ceiling so we can see inside. Click on the top face of the cube to select it. Now to get rid of it, just press the X key. A little menu will pop up asking what you want to delete. Choose faces. And just like that, the top is gone. We now have a simple box with 5 faces, a floor and 4 walls. This doesn't look much like a room yet though. It's a perfect cube. Most rooms are rectangular and much larger. Let's fix that. We need to scale it but not uniformly. We want to make it wider and longer but not taller. Go back into object mode by pressing Tab. Now press S to scale, but immediately after press Shift plus Z. This tells the software to scale on every axis except the Z axis, which is our up and down axis. Move your mouse out, and you'll see the box get wider and longer, but its height remains the same. Scale it out until it looks like the basic footprint of a decent-sized room. There's our floor and our short little baseboard walls. Now it's time for the single most important, most powerful tool in all of 3D modeling. If you only learn one thing today, let it be this. The tool is called Extrude. Extruding means to pull new geometry out from your existing model. It's like a Play-Doh press. You push the Play-Doh in, and a new shape comes out the other side. With extruding, we can pull walls up from a floor, pull steps out of a block, or pull a handle out of the side of a mug. Press Tab to go back into edit mode. We need to select the 4 top edges of our walls, so we can pull them upwards. Switch to edge select mode. You can select one edge, Then hold down the Shift key and click on the other 3 to select them all. Once all 4 top edges are highlighted, press the E key for extrude. The moment you press E, it will look like you're just moving the edges upwards, but you're not. You're creating brand new faces. Move your mouse up, and you'll see the walls of your room rise from the floor plan. It's an incredible feeling. You're literally raising the walls on your virtual property. To keep them perfectly straight, you can press the Z key after pressing E to lock the extrusion to the vertical Z axis. Pull them up to a reasonable height, say about 8 or 9 feet in your mind's eye, and then left-click to confirm. And there you have it. In just a few minutes, you've gone from a blank screen to a cube to a floor plan to a room with 4 walls. This is the fundamental workflow for almost all architectural modeling. You start with a 2D footprint and extrude it into a 3D structure. But let's address the problem. If you look at these walls, you'll realize they're paper thin. They have no thickness. In the real world, walls are several inches thick. We need to add that thickness to our model for it to be believable. Now you could try to extrude each wall individually to create thickness, but that's messy and difficult. There's a much smarter, more elegant way to do this using something called a modifier. Modifiers are automatic operations that affect an object's geometry in a non-destructive way. That's a fancy way of saying they're like a filter you can turn on and off, or adjust at any time without permanently changing your original shape. It's the difference between painting directly on a photograph versus adding a new layer in Photoshop. You can always change the layer later without ruining the original photo. Go back into object mode by pressing Tab. On the right-hand side of your screen, look for a little blue wrench icon. That's the Modifier Properties panel. Click on it, and you'll see a button that says, Add Modifier. A huge list will appear. Don't be intimidated. We only need one right now, the Solidify modifier. Find it and click on it. Instantly, your walls have thickness. It's like magic. In the modifier settings, you'll see a parameter called Thickness. You can click and drag this value to make the walls thicker or thinner in real time. You can choose whether the thickness is added to the inside or the outside of your original shape. For interior walls, you generally want the thickness to go outward so your interior room dimensions stay accurate. Adjust it until it looks right. The beauty of this is that it's procedural. You can come back an hour from now or a week from now and change that thickness value without having to remodel anything. This is the smart way to work. We have a floor. We have 4 thick solid walls. We have created a space. This is no longer just a collection of abstract shapes. It's the beginning of a home. You've learned the difference between object mode and edit mode. You've mastered the core components of all 3D objects: vertices, edges, and faces. You've used the almighty extrude tool to raise walls from a blueprint. And you've used a non-destructive Solidify modifier to give them realistic thickness. Take a moment and appreciate what you've built. You've laid the foundation, literally. But a room with no way in or out is a prison, not a property listing. It needs a door. It needs a window to let in the light. And to do that, we need to learn how to cut holes in our beautiful new walls, precisely and cleanly. That's our next mission. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to become digital demolition experts. But not the kind with a wrecking ball, the kind with a scalpel. There are 2 main ways to cut a hole in a digital wall, and 99% of beginners choose the wrong one first. Let's be that 99% just for a moment so we can understand why it's the wrong choice. This first method is called a Boolean operation. Sounds complex, but the idea is simple. You take one shape, you take another shape, and you use one to cut a hole in the other. It's like using a cookie cutter on dough. Seems intuitive. Seems fast. So let's try it. We'll create a new cube, our cookie cutter. We'll scale it to the exact dimensions of a standard interior door. Let's say 36 inches wide, 80 inches tall, and just a bit thicker than our wall. We position this cube precisely where we want our doorway to be, making sure it passes all the way through the wall. Now for the magic. We select our wall, we go into our special tool set, our modifiers, and we add the Boolean modifier. We tell it we want to subtract or find the difference. Then we point it at our door-shaped cube. We click Apply, and poof, the cube vanishes, leaving a perfect, door-shaped hole behind. It worked. It was fast, it was easy, and it looks fine. So why is this the method that makes professional 3D artists cringe? Because it's a lie. It's a beautiful, tempting lie. What you can't see is the chaos it created just beneath the surface. We didn't just cut a hole. We shattered the underlying structure of our wall. Imagine a perfectly woven piece of fabric. The Boolean tool didn't use scissors. It used a shotgun. It blasted a hole, leaving a frayed, messy disaster around the edges. In the 3D world, this is called bad topology. The clean grid of squares that made up our wall is now a jumble of strange, multi-sided shapes and vertices that connect in weird, unpredictable ways. Right now, you might not see the problem, but later, when you want to add a beveled door frame, when you try to apply a texture like wood grain or paint, the program will get confused. You'll see strange shadows, warped textures, and bizarre visual glitches you can't explain. It's like building a house on a fractured foundation. It might stand up for a little while, but the moment you try to add a second story, the whole thing comes crashing down. The Boolean is a quick fix, a shortcut that creates a mountain of future debt. We are not here to learn shortcuts. We are here to learn the craft. So let's undo that. Let's go back to our perfect solid wall. A sealed room. Now we're going to learn the way of the craftsman. This method takes a few more steps, but it's clean, it's precise, and it respects the integrity of our model. It's the difference between a sledgehammer and a surgeon's laser. We are going to use a technique called loop cutting and bridging. First, we need to think like a carpenter. Before you cut a hole in drywall, what do? You measure and you draw lines. A rectangle. Top, bottom, left, right. We're going to do the exact same thing on our digital wall. We enter edit mode, where we can see the very bones of our model. We're going to add what's called a loop cut. Think of it as drawing a pencil line across our entire wall that follows its geometry. We'll activate the loop cut tool. As we hover over our wall, you'll see a yellow line appear. If we hover near a vertical edge, we get a horizontal line. This line will be the top of our doorway. We don't just want to place it anywhere. We need precision. A standard door is 80 inches tall, so we click to create the loop cut, and then we dial in its exact position. 80 inches from the floor. Perfect. We've drawn our top line. Now we do it again, but this time for the bottom of the door. Of course, the bottom of the door is the floor itself, so we already have that edge. One line down. Next, we need the sides. We hover near a top or bottom edge, and a vertical loop cut line appears. This will be the left side of our door. Let's say we want it 3 feet from the corner. We click and we slide it over, typing in the exact measurement. 3 feet. Done. Now for the final side, the right side. Our door is 36 inches wide. So we create another vertical loop cut and position it exactly 36 inches from the last one. Look at our wall now. We've drawn a perfect, dimensionally accurate rectangle on its surface using these new edges. We haven't cut anything yet. We've just prepared the area for surgery. Now notice something important. Our wall has 2 sides, an interior face and an exterior face. Because we used loop cuts, that same rectangle we just drew on the front is also perfectly mirrored on the back. This is crucial. Now we switch from selecting edges to selecting faces. We select the new rectangle we've created on the front of the wall. Then we orbit around to the back and select its identical twin. We have both the front and back faces of our future doorway selected. And now for the satisfying part. We don't subtract. We don't use a fancy modifier. We just press delete. A menu pops up, asking what we want to delete. We don't want to delete the edges or the vertices that make up the frame, just the faces themselves. We select faces. And there it is. A see-through hole straight through our wall. But we're not done. Look closely. We have a hole, but it's just an empty space between 2 surfaces. We can see the thickness of the wall. We need to build the inside of the door jamb. This is where the magic of bridging comes in. We need to connect the front hole to the back hole, creating a solid frame. We switch back to edge selection mode. We need to select the 4 edges that make up the perimeter of the hole on the front, and the 4 edges that make up the perimeter of the hole on the back. All 8 edges of the hole are now selected. With those edges selected, we go to our edge menu and we find an option that sounds like exactly what we need. Bridge edge loops. We click it. And instantly, like magic, the software builds 4 new, perfectly clean faces, connecting the front of the wall to the back, creating a solid, believable, and geometrically perfect door jamb. Now step back and look at what we've done. Compare this to the Boolean hole. With the Boolean, we had a mess of broken geometry. Here, look at the grid. It's perfect. All of our faces are clean 4-sided shapes, quads. The geometry flows beautifully around the opening we've created. When we go to add a door frame later, it will be effortless. When we apply a paint texture, it will be flawless. We haven't broken our model. We've enhanced it. We've performed surgery, not butchery. This same exact process works for windows. Want a window that's 3 feet wide, 4 feet tall, and 3 feet off the ground? It's the same dance. Create a horizontal loop cut for the bottom of the window. Position it at 3 feet. Create another for the top. Position it 4 feet above that. Create the vertical cuts for the sides. Select the front and back faces. Delete them. Select the resulting edge loops. Bridge them. It's a rhythm, a system, and it is the single most important technique for creating clean, professional architectural models. It might feel slower at first. It might feel like more steps. But every single step gives you absolute granular control. You are not asking the computer to guess what you want. You are telling it. You are the architect, the carpenter, and the craftsman, all in one. You are dictating the terms, and the result is perfection. We've now transformed our sealed box into a room with potential. Light can get in. People can get in. We've created openings. But an opening is not a door. An opening is not a window. It's just a hole. A very well-made hole, but a hole nonetheless. To truly bring this space to life, we need to fill those perfect frames we just built. We need to model the actual door that will swing on its hinges. We need to craft the window, complete with glass that will catch the morning sun. We've built the stage, now we need to build the actors. And that means moving from subtraction to addition, from cutting holes to constructing objects from scratch. Let's start with the most fundamental shape in all of 3D, the humble cube. It's the block of digital clay from which almost anything can be sculpted. We're going to summon a new cube into our scene. Think of it as ordering a fresh block of wood from the lumberyard. Now, this cube is obviously way too big to be a window frame. It's a giant solid block sitting right where our opening is. Our first job is to scale it down, to whittle it into the right proportions. We'll start by making it thinner. Grab it on its side and squeeze it until it's just a few inches thick, the thickness of a typical window assembly you'd buy at a hardware store. Now it's a slab. Next, we'll scale it up vertically until it perfectly matches the height of the opening we cut in the wall. Then we do the same thing horizontally, stretching it side to side until it just barely overlaps the edges of our opening. What you should have now is a solid plank of digital wood, perfectly sized to cover the hole. But of course, a window frame isn't solid. It's a frame. It has an inside and an outside. We need to cut out the middle. And how do we cut things in 3D? We use our trusty cookie cutter, the Boolean modifier, but this time we're using it on the object we just created. We're going to bring in another slightly smaller cube. This new cube will be our cutting tool. Position it right in the center of our frame plank, and scale it so that it leaves a nice thick border all the way around, a few inches on the top, bottom, and sides. This border is what will become the solid part of our window frame. Once it's positioned perfectly, you know the drill. Select the main frame, add the Boolean modifier, set the operation to difference, and choose the inner cube as the target. Apply it and then delete the inner cube. And just like that, we have a beautiful, clean, perfectly proportioned window frame. It's no longer a solid plank. It's an object with form and function, something that can hold glass. It's starting to look like a real architectural element. Now we could stop there. For a very simple model, a single pane window is fine. But we're aiming for a level of detail that makes a potential homebuyer lean in closer to their screen. We want to create a window that has character. And that means adding mullions, those thin strips that divide the window into a grid of smaller panes, often called lights. Doing this manually would be a nightmare. You'd have to create one thin vertical bar, duplicate it, move it over, duplicate it again, move it again, making sure the spacing is perfect every single time. Then you'd have to do the whole thing again for the horizontal bars. It's tedious, it's imprecise, and it's the kind of work that makes beginners give up. We are not going to do that. We are going to work smart. We're going to use one of the most powerful time-saving tools in any 3D software, the array modifier. Think of the array modifier as a magical photocopier. You give it one object and it can create a whole line of perfect copies, all spaced out exactly how you tell it to. Let's start with the vertical mullions. We'll create another cube. Yes, another cube. It's the building block for everything. But this time we're going to scale it into a very long, very thin, very skinny stick. Make it the full height of the inside of our window frame. Now position this first stick on the far left side of the window opening. This is our master copy. With this single stick selected, we'll add an array modifier. The panel will pop up with a bunch of settings. Don't be intimidated. We only care about two things right now, the count and the offset. The count is simple. It's how many copies you want. Let's say we want 4 vertical bars in our window. We'll set the count to 4. Right now, they're probably all stacked on top of each other or shooting off in a weird direction. That's where the offset comes in. The offset tells the modifier how far apart to place each copy and in what direction. We want to space them out horizontally along the x-axis. So we'll start increasing the x-axis offset value. As you do, you'll see the copies magically slide apart, creating a perfect, evenly spaced row. Adjust the value until they stretch all the way across the window opening, creating a handsome, orderly set of vertical dividers. For bars created from one. That's efficiency. Now for the horizontal bars. We could repeat the whole process, but we can be even smarter. We can just duplicate the set of vertical bars we just made. With the whole set selected, duplicate them, and then rotate the entire copy 90 degrees. Boom! Now you have a set of horizontal bars. All you have to do is slide them into position, and maybe adjust the array modifier's count and offset to fit the new orientation. Maybe we only need 3 horizontal bars. Change the count to 3, tweak the spacing, and there you have it. A beautiful classic window grid. Look at what you just did. With one skinny stick and a clever modifier, you created an entire complex structure in a matter of minutes. This is the secret of 3D modeling. It's not about building everything piece by piece. It's about understanding the tools that let you build systems. Our window is framed, it's divided, but it's still just a hole. We need the star of the show, the glass. Creating the glass itself is the easiest part. It's just another cube scaled to be incredibly thin, like paper thin, and sized to fit perfectly just inside the main window frame, right behind the mullions. It's a single flat plane that represents the entire sheet of glass. The real magic isn't in its shape, but in its substance. Up until now, every object we've created has been made of the same default gray clay-like material. So opaque. It's boring. We are about to change that. We are about to create our very first custom material. This is a monumental step. This is where we go from just modeling shapes to creating a world with texture, color, and light. Select your thin glass plane. Navigate over to the Material Properties tab. It usually looks like a little sphere or a checkerboard. You'll see that default gray material assigned. We're going to create a new one. Click the plus button to add a new material slot, and then click New. Let's name it something obvious like window glass. Naming everything properly is one of the most important habits you can build. It saves you from a world of confusion later on. Now you'll see a giant list of properties for this new material. There are sliders and color pickers for base color, metallic, roughness, specular. It's a universe of options, and we will explore it later. But for glass, we only need to change one critical setting for now. You need to find the setting that controls the object's transparency. Depending on your software, this might be called alpha, transmission, or transparency. Find that slider. It's probably set to 1 or 100%, meaning it's fully opaque. Grab that slider and start dragging it down. Watch your screen. As you lower the value, that solid gray plane in your window will begin to fade. It becomes ghostly, then translucent, and finally completely see-through. You can now see the world on the other side of your window. Stop for a moment and appreciate this. You just gave your digital object a physical property. You told the computer, this isn't a solid block. This is glass. Light passes through this. And with that, our first window is complete. We have the outer frame, the inner grid of mullions, and a pane of transparent glass. To keep things neat, we should group these 3 elements, the frame, the mullions, and the glass, into a single object or a collection. Think of it like putting all the window parts into one box. This way we can move, duplicate, or modify the entire window as a single unit. We can now take this complete window assembly and place it in the other window opening we cut. We don't have to rebuild it. We just duplicate our finished product and slide it into place. We've now moved beyond simple subtraction. We've learned how to construct complex, multi-part objects from simple shapes. We've learned how to work smart using modifiers to automate repetitive tasks. And most importantly, we've opened the door to the world of materials, giving our model a property beyond its mere shape. We've created something that can interact with light, and that changes everything. Because a house isn't just walls and holes. It's a space defined by light. Our next job is to take this principle and apply it everywhere, to give every surface, the walls, the floors, the roof, its own identity. And this identity isn't just one thing. It's a symphony of details. Think about a real house. The floor isn't just brown. It's wood. And that wood has a grain, a finish, a certain way it reflects the light from a window. The wall isn't just beige. It has a subtle texture, maybe a slight sheen from the eggshell paint. The countertop in the kitchen isn't just gray. It's granite with flecks of quartz and mica that catch the light in 1,000 different ways. Our digital model right now has none of that. It's a ghost. A perfectly shaped, well-lit ghost, but a ghost nonetheless. It's time to give it a body. It's time to talk about materials and textures. This is the stage where digital artists become painters, tailors, and interior designers all at once. We're about to dress our model. The simplest way to start is with color. Every 3D program lets you create a basic material. Think of it like a bucket of digital paint. You can create a material, call it wall paint, pick a nice off-white color, and then drag and drop it onto your wall objects. Instantly, your gray walls are now off-white. You can make a dark gray for the roof, a light concrete color for the foundation, and just like that, the house starts to look a little more like the real thing. It's a huge step, but it's also a lie, because nothing in the real world is just a flat single color. That's not how physics works. That's not how our eyes perceive the world. A plain color is a good start, but it lacks soul. It lacks history. It lacks texture. Texture is the next layer of our journey into realism. A texture is simply an image that we wrap around our 3D object. Imagine you have a picture of a brick wall. A texture map allows you to take that 2D picture and project it onto your 3D wall. Suddenly, it's not just a red-colored plane. It has individual bricks. It has mortar lines. It has imperfections. We're no longer just painting with color. We're applying a skin. We can find an image of wood grain for the floors, an image of asphalt shingles for the roof, an image of grass for the ground plane. This is where the magic really starts to happen. But it also introduces a fascinating new problem, one that every single 3D artist has to solve. How do you wrap a flat, 2D image around a complex 3D shape? Think about it. It's the same problem mapmakers have faced for centuries trying to put the spherical Earth onto a flat map. It's the same problem a tailor faces when taking a flat piece of cloth and turning it into a fitted suit. You can't just slap the image on there. It'll stretch in weird places. It'll be distorted and pinched in others. The solution is a process called UV unwrapping. And it sounds technical, but the concept is beautifully simple. Imagine your 3D model is a cardboard box. To wrap it in gift paper, you would essentially unfold the box, lay it flat, place your gift wrap on top, cut it to size, and then fold the box back up. UV unwrapping is the digital version of that. We tell the computer how to unfold our 3D objects. We create seams, just like on a piece of clothing, and the software flattens the object out into a 2D pattern. This flat pattern is called a UV map. Now our 2D texture image has a perfect, flat guide to follow. The image of the wood planks knows exactly how to align with the flattened floor. The image of the bricks knows exactly how to sit on the flattened wall. It's a crucial mind-bending step that bridges the gap between 2 dimensions and 3. It's the invisible tailoring that makes the final result look seamless and believable. Once we've mastered this, we can apply textures to everything. But even then, the professionals go one step further. Because a picture of wood is still just a picture. It doesn't know how to behave like wood. It doesn't know that the finish is a little glossy, but the deeper grooves of the grain are more matte. It doesn't know that it should feel slightly bumpy to the touch. To achieve this final breathtaking level of realism, we have to stop thinking in terms of pictures and start thinking in terms of physics. This brings us to the industry standard for creating materials, PBR, which stands for physically based rendering. Don't let the name scare you. It's just a fancy way of saying, let's create materials that behave the way they do in the real world. Instead of just one image for the color, a PBR material is like a recipe with several different ingredients, each one telling the light how to behave. Each ingredient is its own special kind of texture map. The first and most familiar is the base color. This is just what we talked about, the picture of the bricks, the wood, the tile. It answers the question, what color is this surface? But then comes the good stuff. The next ingredient is the roughness map. This is a grayscale image that tells the computer which parts of the surface are shiny and which parts are matte or rough. Pure white means maximum roughness, like unfinished concrete. Pure black means perfectly smooth, like a mirror. Think about a hardwood floor that's just been polished. The surface is smooth, so it has a low roughness value. It reflects the light from the window clearly. But in the tiny cracks between the boards, there's dust and no polish. Those areas are rougher. A roughness map allows us to have that incredible level of detail. It's the difference between a floor looking like a plastic sticker and looking like real lived-in wood. It's the subtle variation in a granite countertop, where some mineral flakes are shinier than others. Next up is the metallic map. This one is usually pretty simple. It's a black and white map that answers one question. Is this surface metal, or is it not? White means it's 100% metal. Black means it's not. This is critical for things like stainless steel appliances, chrome faucets, and copper piping. The computer treats the light completely differently when it hits a metal surface versus a non-metal, or dielectric, surface. Getting this right is what makes a kitchen sink look like real solid steel instead of just gray paint. And now for my favorite one, the one that feels like pure magic. It's called the normal map. You'll recognize it instantly. It's that weird-looking purple and blue texture you see sometimes. A normal map is a cheat code for adding detail that isn't actually there. It's an illusion. This map tells the light rays to bend and bounce as if there were tiny bumps, grooves, pores, and cracks on the surface, even when the surface is perfectly flat. That texture on a painted wall? It's a normal map. The grout lines between bathroom tiles? You don't have to model each tile in each line. You can use a flat plane with a normal map, and it will look like the grout is recessed. The deep grain in a piece of oak? That's a normal map tricking the light. It allows us to have incredible high-frequency detail without creating millions of polygons, which would crash our computer. It's the secret to making things feel tactile, to give them a physical presence you could almost reach out and touch. When you combine all of these maps, the base color, the roughness, the metallic, and the normal map, you get a PBR material. And when you apply that material to your model, something incredible happens. The light that we so carefully set up in the last part now has a rich, complex surface to interact with. The sunlight streaming through the window doesn't just hit a flat brown color anymore. It hits a material that knows it's wood. The light bounces off the polished parts, gets trapped in the rough grain, reflects brightly off the chrome faucet on the sink, and creates tiny shadows in the fake bumps of the stucco on the exterior walls. The house comes alive. It's no longer a ghost. It has skin. It has a soul. It has a character, and it's finally starting to look less like a digital model and more like a home. But a home is more than just floors and walls. A home is defined by the life within it. It needs to be filled. And this is where we graduate from being digital architects to digital interior designers. This is the art of digital staging. Think about traditional real estate staging for a moment. It's an entire industry built on a single powerful truth. Empty rooms don't sell homes. People don't buy square footage. They buy a vision of their future life. An empty living room is just a box. But a living room with a cozy sofa, a soft rug, and a coffee table with a couple of books on it. That's a place for family movie nights. That's a place for quiet Sunday mornings with a cup of coffee. Physical staging costs thousands of dollars. It involves moving trucks, rental furniture, and immense physical effort. We, on the other hand, are about to do it with a few clicks of a mouse for a fraction of the cost and with infinite creative freedom. But that freedom comes with a daunting question. Where do we get all this stuff? Are we supposed to model every single leg of every single chair? Every cushion on the sofa? Every lamp, every plant, every fork in the kitchen drawer? The short answer is no. Absolutely not. Attempting to do so is the fastest path to burnout. World-class 3D artists, the ones who work on Hollywood blockbusters, don't model everything from scratch. They rely on a secret weapon that you now have access to: asset libraries. Asset libraries are vast online collections of pre-made 3D models. They are the digital equivalent of an infinite furniture warehouse. You can find everything from iconic Eames lounge chairs to generic kitchen faucets, from photorealistic houseplants to entire collections of curated decor. This is not cheating, this is working smart. Your job as a real estate visualizer isn't to prove you can model a perfect Chesterfield sofa. Your job is to create a beautiful, compelling image of a home that makes someone want to live there. And asset libraries are the single most powerful tool to help you do that. Now, where do you find these magical warehouses? There are many, but let's focus on a few industry standards. For free, high-quality assets, the go-to for many is BlenderKit, which integrates directly into Blender, or SketchUp's 3D Warehouse, which has a mind-boggling collection of models, though the quality can be a bit hit or miss. For paid, ultra-high-quality assets, you have services like Polygon, Chaos Cosmos, which works with V-Ray, or TurboSquid. The difference between free and paid often comes down to the quality of the textures, the efficiency of the model, and the consistency of the collections. My advice for a beginner? Start with the free options. Master the art of finding the diamonds in the rough before you start spending money. You'll be amazed at what's available for zero cost. But knowing where to look is only half the battle. The real skill is knowing what to choose. You are now a curator. Your goal is to select pieces that tell a cohesive story. Before you download a single object, ask yourself, what is the story of this home? Is it a sleek, minimalist downtown condo? Then you'll be looking for furniture with clean lines, neutral colors, and metallic accents. Is it a cozy, rustic farmhouse? You'll want warm woods, plush fabrics, and maybe some vintage-inspired pieces. Don't just download a couch because you think it looks cool. Download it because it belongs in this specific home. Create a mood board. Gather inspiration. Decide on your color palette and style before you start furnishing. This discipline will transform your work from a random collection of objects into a thoughtfully designed space. The second rule of curation is obsessing over scale. This is the number one mistake beginners make. They'll drop a sofa into a room and it will be comically large, or a dining table that looks like it was made for children. This instantly shatters the illusion of realism. When you're choosing furniture, look for real-world dimensions. Most good asset libraries will provide them. A standard sofa is about 84 inches wide. A queen bed is 60 by 80 inches. Know these numbers. Use a virtual measuring tape in your 3D software to ensure everything fits realistically. The goal of staging is to showcase the space. If you cram an oversized sectional into a small living room, you're not selling a cozy lounge area. You're highlighting how small the room is. Use furniture that is appropriate for the size of the room to create a sense of balance and flow. Now let's talk workflow. How do you actually place these items? It's a layering process. Start with your anchors. These are the largest, most important pieces in each room. The bed in the bedroom, the sofa in the living room, the table in the dining room. These hero pieces define the function of the space. Get their placement right first. Position the sofa to face the logical spot for a television or a fireplace. Center the bed on the main wall of the bedroom. Once your anchors are set, you bring in the major supporting pieces. The coffee table and side chairs that complement the sofa. The nightstands that flank the bed. The rug that sits under the dining table. This is where you start creating functional groupings and conversation areas. Think about how a person would move through the space. Is there a clear path from the door to the sofa? Can you walk around the bed without bumping into the wall? This is about creating a sense of natural, intuitive flow. And now for the final magical layer. The details. This is what separates a sterile 3D model from a warm, inviting home. I call this the lived-in layer. It's the stack of magazines on the coffee table, the throw blanket draped artfully over the arm of a chair, the cutting board with a knife and a lemon on the kitchen counter, the folded towels at the end of the bed. These small, seemingly insignificant details are the silent storytellers. They suggest that someone was just in this room a moment ago. They breathe life into the scene. Don't go overboard. You don't need to model every piece of fruit in a bowl, but a few carefully chosen details will elevate your render from good to unforgettable. A single vase with a flower in it can do more to sell a room than a perfectly modeled sofa. As you fill the space, be ruthless about what you leave out. The second biggest mistake beginners make after scale is clutter. In the real world, we have clutter, but in the idealized world of a real estate listing, we don't. Your job is to sell the potential of the space, not the reality of everyday messiness. Negative space, the empty space around your furniture, is just as important as the furniture itself. It gives the room breathing room. It makes it feel larger, calmer, and more luxurious. When you think you're done, take one thing away. Less is almost always more. So we've gone from an empty shell to a fully furnished, thoughtfully designed space. We've placed our anchor pieces, created flow with supporting furniture, and added a soul with the small lived-in details. The transformation is staggering. We now have a scene that feels tangible, a space that someone can imagine themselves in. The digital ghost has been given a personality. We can almost hear the faint echo of life within these walls. But there's one crucial element missing. Right now, our beautifully curated home is sitting in a flat, lifeless void. It's like a perfectly decorated movie set with the house lights on. There's no mood, no drama, no emotion. To truly bring this home to life, we need to paint with the most powerful tool in our entire arsenal. We need to paint with light. And this is where the magic truly happens. This is the dividing line between a technical drawing and a photograph. It's the difference between showing a floor plan and selling a dream. Because light isn't just about illumination. Light is about emotion. It's the warmth of the afternoon sun spilling across a hardwood floor. It's the cozy glow from a reading lamp next to an armchair. It's the soft, clean light of morning in a kitchen. These are the feelings that sell homes, and we are about to become masters of creating them digitally. So let's break down this art of painting with light into 3 fundamental layers. Think of it like a recipe. If you just throw all the ingredients in a bowl at once, you get a mess. But if you layer them carefully, you create something incredible. Our first layer, the absolute foundation of realistic lighting, is what we call ambient light. Now, in the real world, light is chaos. It bounces off everything. The blue light from the sky comes through the window, hits a white wall, bounces onto a wooden table, picks up a little bit of that warm wood color, and then softly illuminates the shadow side of a vase. It's an infinitely complex dance. Early 3D software was terrible at faking this. It created harsh, sterile environments because it only calculated light coming directly from a source. The secret weapon that changed everything is a technique called image-based lighting, using something called an HDRI. HDRI stands for High Dynamic Range Image. But forget the acronym. Here's what it actually is. Imagine taking a 360-degree, super high-quality photograph of a real-world environment. A beautiful sunny sky with fluffy clouds, a dramatic sunset, or even a clear but overcast day. Now imagine taking that photo and wrapping it around our entire 3D scene like a giant dome. This HDRI doesn't just provide a background. It actively casts light into our scene. The bright sun in the photo casts strong, direct light. The blue parts of the sky cast soft, cool, bluish light. The white clouds cast diffuse, scattered white light. Suddenly, with one single step, our scene is filled with ultra-realistic ambient light. The reflections on our windows and glossy floors now reflect an actual believable sky. The shadows are no longer pitch-black voids. They're filled with the soft, bounced light from the environment, just like in real life. Using an HDRI is the single fastest way to take your render from looking like a cartoon to looking like a photograph. It's the base coat of paint, the foundation upon which we build everything else. You can find thousands of free and paid HDRIs online for every conceivable weather condition and time of day. A sunny afternoon HDRI will give your property a cheerful, vibrant feel. An overcast HDRI can create a soft, moody, high-end architectural look. Choosing your HDRI is the first and most important emotional decision you will make in the lighting process. Okay, so we have our beautiful, realistic ambient light. The scene feels natural, but it might lack focus. It might lack drama. That brings us to our second and most powerful layer, the key light. In most real estate scenes, our key light is the sun. This is our spotlight. This is the actor that takes center stage. While the HDRI provides the general mood, the sun provides the direction, the drama, and the sharp, beautiful details. Positioning your digital sun is an art form. You have to think like a photographer. When do photographers love to shoot? They love the golden hour. That time shortly after sunrise or before sunset when the sun is low in the sky. Why? Because a low sun creates long, soft shadows. These shadows race across the floor. They define the texture of a brick wall. They catch the edge of a piece of furniture and give it shape and dimension. A sun positioned directly overhead at high noon is the worst possible choice. It creates flat, boring light and short, ugly shadows. It's the lighting equivalent of a mugshot. So, when you place your sun, you are deciding the time of day. Do you want the crisp, hopeful light of 8 a.m. streaming through the kitchen window? Position the sun low in the east. Do you want the warm, relaxing end-of-day glow in the living room? Position the sun low in the west. Angle it so the light beams, the God rays, slice through the window and highlight a key feature. The fireplace, the beautiful sofa, the art on the wall. You are literally pointing an arrow of light at the things you want a potential buyer to see. The sun is your storyteller. It guides the viewer's eye. Use it to create paths of light and pools of shadow. This contrast is what makes an image compelling and dynamic. Don't be afraid of shadows. Shadows create depth. They create mystery. They make the light parts of the image feel even brighter and more important. Now we have our foundation, the ambient light from the HDRI. We have our star, the dramatic key light from the sun. Our scene is looking fantastic, realistic, and full of depth, but it might still feel a little unlived in. This brings us to our third and final layer, practical and fill lights. Practical lights are the light sources that actually exist within your scene. The pendant lights over the kitchen island, the table lamp on the nightstand, the under-cabinet lighting, the recessed lights in the ceiling. In the real world, we often have these lights on even during the day, right? They add warmth and create little pockets of interest. The same is true in 3D. Turning these lights on even subtly is what makes your render feel like a home. Each of these lights needs to be given the correct properties. The most important of these is color temperature. Light isn't just white. It has a color measured in Kelvin. A candle flame or an old incandescent bulb gives off a very warm orange light, around 1900 Kelvin. A standard warm white LED might be around 2700 Kelvin. Daylight, on the other hand, is much cooler, a more bluish light around 5000 to 6500 Kelvin. This is critical for realism and mood. The light coming from your sun and sky HDRI will be cool and bluish. The light you add from your indoor lamps should be warm and yellowish. This mix of cool and warm light is visually delicious. It creates color contrast and makes the space feel balanced and inviting. A warm glow from a lamp in the corner makes a room feel instantly cozy and safe. A slightly cooler, clean light in a bathroom can make it feel modern and spa-like. You are in complete control of this mood. Don't just make every light a generic white. That's a dead giveaway of a cheap render. Use temperature to add another layer of emotion. Beyond practical lights, we can also use fill lights. These are invisible lights that we, the artists, add to the scene for purely technical reasons. Let's say you have a dark corner that's just a little too dark. The shadows are crushing the detail of a beautiful bookshelf. You can place a large, very dim, invisible area light just off camera to gently fill in that shadow with a little bit of light, bringing the detail back. The key here is subtlety. It should be so soft that the viewer doesn't even know it's there. They just feel that the room is pleasantly lit. It's a bit of a cheat, but it's a trick photographers and filmmakers use all the time. So let's recap the process. 1. We start with an HDRI to get our foundational realistic ambient light and reflections. 2. We add our key light, the sun, positioning it low in the sky to create beautiful, long shadows that add depth and guide the eye. 3. We turn on our practical lights, the lamps, the pendants, giving them a warm color temperature to make the space feel like a home. And 4. We add soft, invisible fill lights only where needed to lift any shadows that are too dark. This layered approach is your roadmap to stunningly realistic lighting. It takes you from a flat, lifeless model to a vibrant, emotional scene. A space that doesn't just show square footage, but tells a story. A story of coming home after a long day, of cooking dinner in a warm kitchen, of curling up with a book in a cozy corner. We've built the walls, we've furnished the rooms, and now we've given it a soul. We have crafted the perfect moment. All that's left is to capture it. We need to take this living, breathing 3D world and turn it into that final jaw-dropping 2D image. It's time to talk about the final step in our journey. It's time to render. And so we arrive at the final act, the digital darkroom. Rendering is the process where your computer takes everything we've built, the walls, the furniture, the textures, the light, and performs a million complex calculations to translate it from a 3D workspace into a flat, photorealistic 2D image. It's the moment the computer finally sees what you've created and takes the picture. This isn't just clicking a button. It's an alchemy of art and processing power. To perform this alchemy, we need a render engine. Think of it as the brain of the operation. It's the specific piece of software that interprets all the light data in your scene. Different engines have different personalities. Some, like V-Ray or Corona, are industry titans, famous for their hyperrealism. But for us, starting out, the engine built right into our 3D software, like Blender Cycles engine, is an absolute powerhouse. It's more than capable of producing images that will make potential buyers stop in their tracks. The key isn't having the most expensive engine. It's knowing how to use the one you have. And using it comes down to a few critical settings. Ignore the hundreds of checkboxes and sliders for now. We're focusing on the 3 pillars of a great render: resolution, samples, and format. First, resolution. This is simply the size of your final image, measured in pixels. It dictates the clarity and detail. For a Zillow or Redfin listing, an image that's 1920 pixels wide by 1080 pixels tall is a fantastic standard. It's high definition, crisp on any screen. If you're planning on creating a large print for a brochure or a hero image for a luxury property website, you might push that up to 4K, which is around 4000 pixels wide. The rule is simple. Higher resolution means a clearer, bigger picture, but it also means a longer wait time for the computer to finish. Next, and arguably most important for quality, is samples. This one sounds technical, but the concept is beautiful. Imagine your camera is trying to figure out the exact color and brightness of a single pixel in a shadowy corner. The render engine does this by shooting out rays of light from the camera into the scene. These are the samples. If it only shoots out a few samples, it gets a rough idea, and the result is a grainy, noisy image like a photo taken in a dark room with a cheap phone. But if you tell it to shoot out hundreds or even thousands of samples for that one pixel, They bounce all around the scene, gathering more and more accurate information about the light, the color, the reflections. The result? A clean, smooth, lifelike image. More samples equals higher quality. It's the difference between a fuzzy sketch and a crystal clear photograph. But here's the trade-off, and it's the fundamental law of rendering. More samples means dramatically more time. Doubling the samples doesn't double the time. It can quadruple it or more. Your first render should start with a lower sample count, maybe around 128 or 256, just to see how things look. For your final jaw-dropping hero shot, you might push that into the thousands, let your computer run overnight, and wake up to magic. Finally, output format. This is just the type of file you save. You'll see dozens of options, but you only need to know two: JPEG and PNG. JPEG is the workhorse of the internet. It creates small, efficient files perfect for web listings. PNG files are higher quality and, crucially, they can have a transparent background, which is useful for more advanced graphic design work. For 99% of real estate listings, a high-quality JPEG is the perfect choice. So, you've chosen your camera angle. You've set your resolution to a crisp 1920 by 1080. You've cranked up the samples for that final quality. You've chosen JPEG as your output. You take a deep breath, and you click the render button, and then you wait. This is the part of the process that teaches patience. Your computer screen will go blank for a moment, and then a window will appear. Small squares called tiles will start to pop up one by one. Each tile is a tiny piece of your final image, being calculated and drawn in. At first it's a grainy, noisy mess. But as the computer refines each tile, passing over it again and again, the noise melts away. The subtle glow from a lamp begins to appear. The sharp reflection on the hardwood floor starts to resolve. The soft shadow cast by a pillow slowly sharpens into existence. It is an incredibly satisfying process to watch. It's your vision, your hard work being born pixel by pixel. This might take 20 minutes. It might take 8 hours. It all depends on the complexity of your scene and the power of your computer. This is where a powerful graphics card, a GPU, really shines, tackling these visual calculations far faster than a standard processor or CPU. But once that final tile is complete and the progress bar hits 100%, you're not quite done. You have what's called a raw render. And a raw render is like a photograph straight out of a professional camera. It has all the data, all the potential, but it lacks the final artistic touch. It's time for the secret weapon of every top-tier 3D artist: post-processing. This is where you take your beautiful render and make it breathtaking. You can use software like Adobe Photoshop, Lightroom, or even powerful free alternatives like GIMP or Photopea. You're not changing the image, you're enhancing it. You're becoming a digital photographer, developing your shot. What do you adjust? Just a few simple things. First, check your exposure and contrast. Is the image a little too dark? Brighten it up slightly. Do the darks and lights feel a little flat? Increase the contrast to make the image pop, giving it a sense of depth and dimension. Next, color correction. Sometimes your virtual lights might give the scene a slight yellow or blue tint. This is where you adjust the white balance, telling the software, this part of the image is supposed to be pure white. The software then corrects all the other colors in the image accordingly, resulting in natural, true-to-life tones. You can also slightly boost the vibrance or saturation to make the colors of the furniture or the art on the wall feel richer and more inviting. Finally, a touch of sharpening. A very subtle sharpening filter can add that last bit of crispness to the edges in your image, making it feel incredibly high definition and professional. These are tiny adjustments, but together, they are the difference between a render that looks like a computer graphic and a render that looks like a photograph from an architectural magazine. This is the final 5% of effort that creates 50% of the impact. And there it is, your final image. Stare at it for a moment. Think back to where we started. A blank, gray, empty void. A digital nothing. We built the walls, cut out the windows. We laid the floors and furnished the rooms. We found the perfect sofa, the perfect rug, the perfect lamp. We painted the walls with textures and light. We chose our camera, our lens, our moment. We commanded the computer to capture that moment. And we polished it to perfection. You have taken an idea, a floor plan, a concept, a dream, and you have made it real. You've created a space that people can see, understand, and emotionally connect with. You've built a story not with words, but with light and shadow and form. This skill is a superpower in today's market. You no longer have to just tell a client to imagine how a space could look. You can show them. You can show them the morning sun spilling into the kitchen of a home that hasn't even been built yet. You can show them how a vacant, empty room can be transformed into a warm, inviting living space. You're not just marketing a property, you are marketing its potential, its soul. This journey from that first vertex to this final polished image may seem long, but the fundamentals are what we've covered. The rest is just practice. Experiment. Try a different chair, a different paint color, a different time of day. Develop your eye, develop your style. You are no longer just a real estate professional. You are a digital creator, a virtual storyteller. You now have the tools to build the future one polygon at a time. This isn't the end of your education. It's the beginning of your portfolio. Now go create something beautiful.